my question is, when I'm looking through, I appreciate you giving us back for 6 months. And so as I'm looking through campus edge apartments, those would be the ones by Jones, correct?
Yes.
And so Richards Road would be Panther Hill?
Yes.
So I guess my question is for the plan name, how can we have a plan name for the gate? Everything has a plan name, but then when we get to Panther Hill, it just says student housing.
It was how it was entered in the system.
Okay, so I guess that takes me to my actual question as I'm looking at the report, I don't see any updated reports as far as Panther Hill goes. I think the most current one that I saw was March.
May. If you look at building 14, a plumbing top out passed in May 15th.
Where's that?
It's on next to the last page, about midway down.
Next to the last page. The plumbing top, May. Okay, so that was one building, but I guess when we're driving by, we see them building at a very substantial rate. And so when we were looking at the reports we had from in the last meeting, we didn't have any updated.
Right.
You know,
Panther Hills has slowed down as far as their inspection goes. They're getting their buildings up, and those buildings are so large that if they're not focused on them, just that one, then it takes a while to get it all done. Because before we go back out after a foundation, they've got to get all their framing, all their mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, all of that in. So when we go back out, we do all of those at one time.
So do you know how many buildings are currently up at Panther Hill now? Because the highest that I see is 14. And I feel like they're more than 14.
Oh, there's a lot more than 14.
Right.
But they did some of the larger number, the higher numbers, like the 20s and 30s, were their first section. This is phase 2. So some of the lower numbers, like 1, 6. And I will give you an update. I do have an inspection scheduled out there tomorrow for building 11, I think it is.
And what, for an example though, that's one of the newer buildings,
Yes.
okay, unoccupied. So what are the things that you're going to inspect tomorrow? So by way of example, we can kind of have more of an idea, because as Councilman Randall said, we see buildings, and if he doesn't see this here, in what you're saying, the foundation has been checked some time ago. Now they're giving you a building,
Right.
and the mechanical, electrical, et cetera, to come and inspect.
That's what's on the schedule for tomorrow. Yes.
My question dates back to the ongoing process and problems in which we've been facing with Panther Hill. So from the first time that Panther Hill opened, we received documentation of building filling, past partial, and we never received the update for those buildings. And as time went by, they have received certificates of occupancy, but like how some of these things says planned partial, I'm pretty sure we ask you to come back in a month or so, it'll go from past partial to past, hopefully, and things of that such, basically walking us along the process. How could we ever get to that point with Panther Hill and where we receive those documents to show us
Okay.
us walking through the process of when we gave them a temporary certificate of occupancy and they were supposed to fix things within that certain time period, that we come back with the proper documentation to show us that basically that the building is up to standard and it meets code and all of those kind of things, because we've yet to receive that documentation.
Okay, when the city issues a C of O and the building is occupied, we normally don't go back. However, I was given this agenda item to discuss and update on the most recent. So that's why I even went back 6 months and pulled this. So, you know, all that stuff in the past, I wouldn't be able to answer you that standing here because I haven't pulled it back up to see what all's outstanding.
Well, and I know by our agenda, that's why our attorney gets on us all the time about being very specific. When we was asking for the most recent, we was asking for, yes, the time period as well, but also us getting the updated report upon those that we have not seen.
Okay, the city gets all their inspection reports. They get emailed to the ladies in the afternoon.
Okay, Councilman Rowe?
So thank you again for coming. I had two things. This specific agenda item was the most recent Bureau Veritas inspection reports for Panther Hill Apartments, the Gates, and Campus Edge, just those three.
Right.
Which are our larger developments, which we want to see to, we wanted to make sure, because we are hearing things to make sure that the city has a very basic process that the citizens and any developer who comes in can understand that process, but we're also, as far as the administration, are receiving the proper documents to make sure that the city is safe in this development. Two things. One, you have on here the Checkers restaurant, and well, I don't want to go into that. The question I have in reference to Bureau Veritas, can you give us how many buildings are open and have passed inspection for Panther Hill? And then, so we know that, let's say they have 25 buildings currently up. 20 of them may be finished, 5 of them are in the process of being worked on, and I think you talked about going to inspect the building.
Right.
We don't necessarily want to be in the weeds. We want to just be able to say, out of the 25 buildings that the citizens see, 20 are done, and we have 20 final inspections, we have 20 final COs, and then we have 5 that are going up, 2 have a temporary CO, and 3 are not open. We want that type of information, and how can we, do we have to come back to you, or is there a way that we can get that basic information to understand our current process?
The ladies are able to pull in TMS, any reports and stuff like that. Now, they're going to be undergoing some training to be able to do that better. That hasn't happened yet. I know they're in the process of contacting, one of our ladies comes out of our Plano office, and they'll come down and sit down and get with them and walk them through the process so that they can pull these reports accurately and know exactly where they need to go to get those reports for y'all.
So again, last time you were here about 4 or 5 months ago, front staff was supposed to be getting the same training. And so we're going to make sure that we get this information. I talked to Mr. Dave Stevens and Miss Mary Fowler from your office, and some months ago, I think it's like 5-6 months ago, we adopted the same standard policy, or no, the same standard worksheets and information that the city of West had. And I talked to Dave today about making sure, it just talked about the plan review process, the permit process, the inspection process, and then on the commercial form, it kind of has this information. We adopted that, and what I was trying to get is to find out who specifically would we work with to make sure that this gets updated on the city's website. City Council approved this 4 or 5 months ago, and so what we're just trying to do is to get clarity, so where things are at in the process, we can just go to, because the mayor and the administration talked about, pulling that document. But if the mayor wanted to come to council or not even come to council, if we wanted to figure out where we're at in the process, we can look on the documents and say, okay, they have this done or they don't have this done, because our process is not as clear as it should be. Because right now we use an outside company for the civil engineering work, and we issue our own COs, but we currently have a contract to have Bureau Veritas issue the CO. And so how does,
No, that's not quite correct.
to be our building official, in that process, we don't have an outline on how the dots are gonna be connected. And I walking us through those 3 examples, whether it be Panther Hill, the Gates, or Campus Edge, how do we connect all these developments to make sure that we have the appropriate paperwork that is requested?
Okay, I guess I'm kind of in the weeds right now.
Could you sum it up?
So-
I think he's right on board.
So right now, we have a proposal that we're gonna bring Bureau Veritas in as our building official. 50% of the work that the building official would be doing, Bureau Veritas currently does in our inspection. But we have, we're moving forward with a temporary contract for Bureau Veritas to do the building official work. The city will still issue the CO, and I'm wanting us to identify processes. With the paperwork that you have, what currently do you have that allows us to be able to track the process similar to like the City of West or anyone, for us to be able to track where things are at, because they go to you for a planned inspection. So on this report, it says Checkers, plan review. Was this the restaurant, gas station, or the entire project?
Just the Checkers.
Right, which is my point. This project is a three-part project that is happening all at the same time. You only have approved plan review, so this would make it seem as if all parts of this particular project plan review is approved, just on this document. So I'm saying if this project has 2 or 3 moving pieces, right? The gas station, the Checkers, and whatever else, the C-store, I don't know. How do we follow the flow? Because right now, all we have is plan review for Checkers Restaurant.
Yeah, if you'll look down 1 or 2 more.
Line 4, Fuel Max Shell Station. Same property, totally different inspection process. Says it right there.
So, let me,
Shows plan review pass.
so I think what, and I don't wanna put words in his mouth, but I think what Councilman Rowland is asking is there one place that he can go to where he can identify a project and figure out where the project is in its totality? Is there one document, is there one location where you can go and say, okay, the Shell station is, and then it itemizes where.
The ladies up front have that available.
In other words, a report by project. Okay.
I have a question. So when it comes to the inspection reports, after you go and do your inspection, you say you inspect something specific, or you inspect everything at that point?
You're talking about like an MEP and frame?
Yeah, like, so if you say you're going to building 11 tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yeah. So are you checking the fire, the mechanical?
The fire's separate.
Okay, so do the developers, are they the ones that ask y'all to come out to do inspections, or the city do that?
No, the contractors do.
Okay, so the contract say,
Yeah.
okay, we're finished with this, can y'all come and check it?
Right.
So after you come and check it, how long does it typically take for y'all to finish the actual report saying this either pass, partial?
The ladies get the reports every day about 4:02, because when we upload them in our app, they go to a server and they're held for each particular city. As long as we've been able to do the inspection before 4 o'clock. I probably won't be at Panther Hills tomorrow till later than that. But typically at 4:02 every day, all of our cities get their emails.
So it's
As
the
long as
same
they've
day?
been, yes, it's the same day. So if I'm out there at 11 o'clock, they're gonna have a report at 4 o'clock. You know, if it's after 4 o'clock, they may not get it till the next morning, or they may get it within a few minutes after it actually hitting the app.
Okay, so, so whenever you go out there, you check whatever, by the same day, you send it back saying, what's passed, partial, or what's passed, or what's failed. So the reports that we have, like, if it's said last activity, like in May, or February, or January, whatever is on here is the very last one.
Right. Yeah, that's why
So
this is called.
it's not prolonged or anything like that.
This is last project activities. That would have been the last time we were out on that site. It doesn't mean the contractors have stopped. I mean, they've just gotten busy. I know this one certain developer's busy with Campus Edge, and then had another project down in the south part of Houston or something,
Missouri City.
Missouri City, which was a big project that they kind of got pulled off. I guess they figured they got certain parts of Panther Hills done, so they were going to pull off that, go do something else, and they just had a skeleton crew working at Panther Hills. You know, got most of them over there at Campus Edge.
So, thanks for the clarification. But so, in saying that, that's meaning that the last few reports that we received is basically what's going on at that moment in time, such
Right.
as Panther Hill.
Right, because we do not go out unless the contractor schedules an inspection.
Okay, and so if if it says fail, how long would it be? Well, so if a developer or development says fail, then it's up to them to contact you to bring you back out there.
Correct. Yeah, we don't schedule their inspections because we don't know their completion timeframe, we don't know their activities, it's their responsibility to call it back in. Let me give you an example on your, since you're talking to failed. Out at Campus Edge, there's been a couple of foundations that have either passed, partial, or failed, pending engineer's letter. Now, they can move forward on that, and I can get the engineer's letter at the end. Or they can have me the engineer's letter when we're ready to do an MEP and frame. There's certain items you can do that on.
I guess I'm just confused to the part in which, like, today, we still have information that says past partial for Panther Hill. And does that mean you can move in with a past partial?
That's not my call to make.
So who call would that be?
It would be a call by the city.
So, Mr. Mayor, my question would be, just due to the reports in which we've been receiving, not all the reports say passed. And as we just heard today, that the reports in which we have been getting, Ms. Cortez in the front office has been doing a wonderful job, because we've been thinking that maybe we're missing some pages, or maybe it's not the last update. But as we see here today, we've been receiving the most recent ones. How are we allowing development to move forward on past partial inspection reports, and even some that still to this day that we get back says fail?
Well, there are approximately 32 or 34 buildings. So unless you give me a building number so we can go pull it up, but you made a statement about allowing people to move in. Ms. Rogers just shared that depending on what the situation is, there can be a past partial, an engineer, a licensed engineer, bless you, sharing that that's okay at the very end of the project. But earlier, she said something I think we need to be clear on. There's, I don't know, 14, 15 buildings that are up. No one has ever moved in them. And she just stated, by example, that you're going to do a mechanical, electrical, etc. on one of those new buildings because you've been called in.
Right.
Tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow. So depending on what building, I mean, construction, and it has so many moving parts, you have to be specific if you're asking why someone's living in a building with that. I'm not sure what you're referring to, so I really can't answer that.
All right, so Mayor, I know I would do my diligence, and since we have been receiving report, to go through those, since those are the most recent, the ones that we have been receiving the last 2 city council meetings. And I'm glad that we have new management, and we have Judge Charleston with us here today, so that, therefore, that moving forward, we can get together with you and the management, so that way they could be able to call Via Veritas back out. So that way, if a student is moving, so that's why I asked the question upon past partial. She said that they can continue to build, but she said that the city makes the call on whether or not they move in. So if we don't have that transparency as seen, we only have the documents which are shown to us every council meeting. So going forward, I'm pretty sure we don't want the same rehab, and I'll take charge of it myself to go through them and make sure that next meeting when we put it back on the city council agenda, that we'll have some hard proof, and it won't be coming after you, because I will even work closely with Judge Charleston, but so that way we can make sure that students are not living in past partial, that everything that someone is accommodating is making sure that it is passed, and that we have up to date on each building that is over there. So
And also, one of the things you want to be real clear on is life safety is the biggest thing with anything in construction. So if someone didn't pass partial on paint or something that's not a life safety issue, you really need to look at what the issue is. Because the life safety, the fire side of either Bureau Veritas or Assistant Fire Chief Bordeaux, who's been doing a lot of those things over there, these folks know what they're doing. The only fire that I'm aware of that took place at Panther Hill was when a young man cut the oven on and forgot that the manual was in the oven. He didn't even open it. That's the only fire, and I had that discussion with our fire chief, Frank Jackson, so that's the fire. Then there was something in a car, had nothing to do with construction. So some vandalism in a car could have happened, and probably has happened in all of our neighborhoods as well. But the fire safety is the only thing that concerns me. Yes, sir.
Question in reference to Bureau Veritas process. You said you can get a letter from an engineer about foundation work that has been failed. Is that a letter from the developer's
No, it's
engineer or the city's engineer?
no, it's the developer's engineer, or the contractor's engineer. They're responsible for hiring an engineer and paying that engineer to take a look at that and to proceed with, give us that letter.
At any point, so all three of these projects, Panther Hill, Campus Edge, and the gate, well, we'll even say the gates because it says failed. They've all come to you with plan review. Two of them has passed, which is Panther Hills and Campus Edge. Bureau Veritas is working for the city of Prairie View. Who are we having looking at civil engineering? And I know that's not in your area, but there's no connection back to, do you receive a letter? So on the civil engineering, do you receive a letter? Do you receive any type of information?
No, sir, that's the city's responsibility.
We deal with civil. Yes, sir.
I move that we put this agenda item, discuss an update on the most recent Bureau Veritas inspection report for Hampton Hills Apartments, the Gates of Prairie and Campus Edge Apartments to the next meeting.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that item 3, discuss an update on the most recent Bureau Veritas inspection reports for Panther Hills Apartments, the Gates at Prairie View, and Campus Edge Apartments be placed on the next city council agenda. You've heard the motion, ready for the discussion.
Already.
Go ahead, Councilman Jones.
Maybe, I guess maybe we'll amend it by saying take action because we bring the reports next meeting. We're gonna want Bureau Veritas. We're gonna want the mayor with Judge Charleston, Bureau Veritas, to kind of take action as to go over there to make sure that the buildings are inspected, so that way we can get another report of the building.
I'm not clear.
I'm asking that we, if possible, take action, so we just had this discussion, consider. That's what you're urging.
Discuss an update.
Yeah, and I'm saying so that way we can take action, so that way we can act. Well,
He's asking to make an action item so that if there's any action needs to take place, it can take place after we have the discussion. So if you just again.
Put like, just like agenda item 1, put discuss and possible action.
Okay, yeah, that was Johnson.
So let me just clarify, if you put it that way, the only thing you would be able to take action on would be the report. So what are you looking to take action on? Their underlying
on the
contract?
report to try to get, well, I don't know, well, I guess this is a question for you. I'm not sure whether or not we could, because we can't make the mayor do anything. But as far as us taking action and making a motion, so that way the mayor could get with Judge Charleston and Bureau Veritas, so that way they could bring them back out to do an inspection upon the ones that failed. So action would need to be taken if it shows up failed.
In the event that we get these updated reports and there's still a building that is not fully passed, he's asking, how do we need to word this motion to where if there's a building that we need to go back and inspect, we can take action on whatever the next step would be if there's a building that's currently being habitated that that isn't passed, what would be the next step?
Right, I tell you what, why don't we work with Attorney Zach on a language for the agenda in the meantime? And we'll contact you to make sure that we get it correct, because I'm not sure if there's already been a certificate of occupancy issued that you can take it back. So what action would then be taken is a question.
We don't wanna, I don't wanna take the certificate of occupancy away. All we wanna do is make sure that we doing our due diligence by making sure that the house in which our students are staying in is safe. Even if it says passed partial, they need the paint done. Come out, paint is done, it's passed, so that way you don't have, like, I don't think now one of us wanna live in a passed partial.
Okay, so let's
house.
just figure out how to word it correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll figure it out between now and the next meeting.
Thanks, sir.
I have
All those in favor say aye.
Mr. Mayor.
You got your call for the questions, that's what y'all pointed out to me. All those in favor say aye. Opposed have the same right? Ayes have it.
Okay, let me make one clarification, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Once a building is occupied, we do not go back in it.
Gotcha.
Is that the final CO or is that just a temporary CO?
Yeah,
Once the building is occupied, we do not go back in it.
so, Councilor, so at that point, what do we do?
Well, that's the question I want to figure out so that we have an appropriate action on
Yeah,
it.
and
Because I'm
some
not
of it
quite
may
sure.
depend on what the issue is, as to whether an engineer's letter, as you stated earlier,
There's
would
quite a
cure
few
it.
of those.
You know, the seriousness of it.
Yeah, and I want to take a look at your code and see who's responsible for what exactly and what actions you could take so that we have an appropriate action item for city council.
And Mayor, remember,
Yes,
there's
yes,
quite,
ma'am.
there's quite a few of those on that spreadsheet that I did.
Yes.
That we're still going over with the developer on some pending language and stuff that was in some of those engineering letters. You
Right.
know, and we're still waiting on them to get that, so that may clear up a lot of these issues.
Sure, and that's, and again, the one thing I want to make sure for myself as well as everyone here, what you're sharing with us is construction industry standard stuff.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
just wanted to make
And
sure. Yes,
Just wanted to clarify, we don't inspect paint.
sure.
And I just wanna say thank you for
Thank you so much
for coming out and answering.
Yes, and
Thank
you
so
got,
much.
I know you got over an hour drive home, so thank you again so much. We appreciate your time.
What's your name again, man?
Mr. Rogers.
Absolutely.
You're very welcome.
Donald Rogers.
Yeah, Judge, you had something you wanted to share? Judge Charleston, real quick?
We've already passed this agenda, we need to move on to the next item.
I was just gonna ask if I could get whatever buildings or violations that you have in your, if y'all could submit it to, it makes it easier.
Absolutely.
We'll be glad to share that with you.
Thank you,
No
Mr.
problem.
Rogers.
Item 5, discuss and take action on the appointment, oh, that's right. No, item 4 has to be skipped. I've been informed by legal that that word isn't worded correctly. But on item 5, if council has questions that you want to ask, specific questions, the interim chief, we can incorporate what we have to skip on item 4 into item 5 with any questions that you all may have for interim chief Ross. Discuss and take action on the appointment of interim police chief. Councilmember Jones.
I know that we was underneath, since it was the emergency, that was 30 days. So I'm not sure if this item in which we want to discuss right now in the public. Also, I don't mind or I'm not sure if I should say, I'm pretty sure I don't mind to yield the floor to Officer Ross on any questions.
Now, council, you shared with me, did council have to ask interim chief specific questions, or are they open to, based on this, for him to give them an update of some sort in generality, based on the way it's worded? Just want to make sure we follow the Open Meetings Act.
Yeah, so we're skipping number 4, which has to do with update on activities, but under number 5, which is the interim appointment, the appointment of the interim police chief, if you have specific questions as to his activities since he's been here and what he can share with you, that would be up to the city council to ask. Or if you have other questions regarding his credentials, he would be able to address those.
Okay, Councilman Rowe?
Thank you. I guess my first 2 questions aren't specifically, well, one was on a report or activity report that interim chief Ross said he had that he did, and council was supposed to receive a copy, and if he has that, I would love to see that. The second thing is that where currently are we at with the interim appointment? That ended at 30 days, and are we past our 30 days? Because now we would, a motion would be in order to either move forward or to not. So could you give us some?
So I'm not aware of the exact
Yeah.
date, but that
So,
ends at the 30
Chief
days.
Solomon said in his resignation letter, will be the 24th, and so today being the 24th, well, May 24th, so today being 24th, that's exactly 30. So that means the emergency appointment is up.
Did you have that report, sir?
That's the same report from that workshop. You need make copies? Anybody else need a repeat of the copies?
No,
It's the same thing from that workshop.
Yeah, go ahead.
my next question would be, as far as transparency, as we talked about offline, could you just tell us the process in which the officers go through to get sworn in, and then how they go through their background check and things of that such?
Absolutely. What happens is most of the hiring is handled through the administrative office. I let the administrative office know that there's an open or pending opening or a loss that's going to cause us not to be able to cover the schedule. Once I let them know, I make the presentation of the application and they take care of the hiring from there. Who's the administrator?
That would be me. Mayor's over all personnel.
So I guess as we identify the process, so I've never heard or it's never been our process that the mayor is doing hiring or the mayor brings forth the name, but who does the background check, I think was his question. But so who specifically, since you're 30 days?
I take care of the background check for, when we get an applicant that comes in, I take care of the background check. And once I make that presentation, they're clear to go. And that's including Tico's application also.
Okay, so since you've been here for 30 days, how many background checks have you done?
I've done the one that I can speak to without looking at any other notes, but for an officer Don Den.
The
The gentleman that we swore in at the last.
Okay. So how could we, a background check doesn't come back in 30 days, and so,
A background check does come back in 30 days. I can
It
do
does?
that. I can get that done in less than 30 days.
so,
And on top of that, he was already an officer, so he's coming from a secure background.
so Officer Den, who we approved 3 officers, if I'm not mistaken, prior to you coming here. How did Officer Den, was he one of the 3 that came before us?
He was one that got sworn in, but he was the one.
That we approved?
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
There was a vacancy, and we filled the vacancy.
But, so how, it doesn't work like that.
There's still one missing.
Now, I think you might want to check the
No,
chart.
I'm
So,
saying.
so if we're talking about